It's up to you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jean-Claude at Beyond Mystic, and welcome to tonight's War Correspondent Special Report. The title is The Final Countdown, Trump and the Military. With me to discuss these topics, of course, is the one and only Juan SAVIN. You can find his amazing swag at jennifermac.com. Juan, welcome back to the show. How are you, sir?
Hey, great. Great to be back here. In fact, I just mentioned to you, but I want to tell your audience, Jen reminded me last night that before she knew about any of me or anybody else out there, she was listening to you. If I wasn't careful, she might be married to you by now.
Well, me and Jason Epfor have been on for quite some time, and we've cut our teeth in a lot of this material in the crypto world, and it got a lot of people interested into the woo. That was one of their entrees into this conversation. Juan, thank you so much for joining me tonight, man. We have a lot of stuff to discuss. I hope we're going to have a strong connection. I see you're driving there. Before we get into too much details, Juan, I just want to let you know we are triple casting on YouTube, Twitter, and also on Rumble here. So maybe for the first 5 minutes as we do the introductions and get into the subject matter, let's stay on our best behavior here for the YouTube algos. And then we're going to cut the YouTube feed and move over to Rumble. Juan, before we get too far into things here, when I posted the poster for this episode, I got a few comments, and I was getting a lot of flack in the chat for having you back on. I saw a lot of new people commenting that perhaps we shouldn't be listening to this interview tonight because you never answer a question. And Janine and I had a show last night. We talked about that, and I said, that's not exactly true. I said, Juan and I have had some pretty good conversations in the last number of years. But I did give the caveat that sometimes some of these subject matters that you and I get into are not easily answerable in a 1 or 2 minute soundbite, that we need to give a lot of context before we get to the answer. And we need to also understand where the audience find themselves here before we get into that context and then that answer. So to preface the conversation here tonight, guys, if you're watching the show and you're seeing some of those comments, I implore you to make a judgment for yourself. Don't read those comments. Perhaps those are trolls and detractors that are trying to prevent you from listening to different points of views. And the whole point of the Beyond Mystic channel is to bring different points of views together, to speak like adults and understand and have a better understanding of the world around us. Juan, anything you want to add to that before we get a little bit too far here?
Well, I mean, you can change channels. You do lots of interviews that aren't me, and so they don't have to listen if they don't want to. And I do try to maybe provide a longer form response that isn't the right bullet and on that you just have to trust me or something, or trust what I've said. And just, I think that's where a lot of this stuff is at. We don't get the rest of the story or the context, and then how do you make an honest educated decision or come to a conclusion that is more together. And I get personally myself, there's a lot of people that say stuff and I go, well, how, on what basis are they saying that? Where's the logic here? And so I'm trying to provide that. If it doesn't work for everybody, I understand that we're not all the same. And
right. And,
so
and nobody's forcing them to watch the show. Nobody's forcing them to watch the show, Juan. But something else we can bring to the audience attention also, I did this emergency broadcast earlier today. We're getting a lot of reports of scammers also that are using my name. They're using Janine's name. They're trying to entice people to invest in cryptos, and they're trying to lure them in through WhatsApp and stuff like that. But on top of that, we're getting reports in the last couple of days here of different, what appears to be AI-driven videos that are taking sound bites from truthers, maybe readjusting what they're saying, and again, in the hopes here to thwart people into some of these maybe Ponzi scheme and investments. Do you want to speak to that also, Juan? This seems to be very prevalent. You and I talked about this months ago that it was coming, and here we are. We're seeing that manifest now. But do you want to add to that a little bit here again before we go too far?
Well, for example, over the weekend, we had 5 different programs and pieces on X, etc., that I had to throw my people at pretty hard to get removed. They purported to be me. They had channels with my name on it, and they were not me. I don't do any social media. And your audience should know that. Everybody here should know it. They had 15, 18,000 supposed subscribers and all that. And they're telling people, hurry up, quick, buy your Gasara, Nasara, Zimbons, and Dinar, and everything else. And they take snippets of things I said that were not at all what I said, and then turn it into something else. And that was very, very, very disturbing. We have a number of channels along those lines that are out there trying to um, portray themselves as you or other people. And in fact, one of the people I contacted, one of the people whose name was on a different channel that was alleging to have done an interview with me, and it was very disturbing stuff. And I talked to that person over the weekend, and he had the same complaint. When we look back at where these things are coming from, some of the following the locations back, and I know I have better resources than a lot of the other people out there. They were coming from two countries. We know the countries and we know the groups involved. And I don't want to say, but it's actually very upsetting. Um, these are supposedly allies for us in the background, and those countries are not blocking, assisting, and in fact, they have people, citizens, we would assume, from those locations that are making a tremendous amount of money on this graft. And so they look the other way while this is going on. And the only other thing I would say is that it bothers me is there. A lot of it was selling gold and silver and stuff like that. And when you looked, by the time they got done, these people were just getting clipped to death, on frauds. And so that really bothered me. The only thing I say, let the buyer beware. I don't have any kind of a place other than the jennifermack.com and All Patriots over at Gumroad that directly promote anybody that's buying. I think I have friends I've referred them privately and like that, but I don't do anything like that. And by the way, for anybody that says, um, if I attend an event, if I go to sign books, whatever, I take no money where I've gone to support an event. In fact, I've gone where people were struggling to kind of help them over the top, so they would be viable. But I never take any pay. I never do anything. If I've done anything, I just bring a few books along or something like that. And I cover my own airfare, I cover my own hotel. I don't take anything for doing that, because I don't want the confusion for me, is he supporting this? What's the other thing behind it? And I don't pay anybody to put me on the show. There's, some idiots, assholes really, out there saying I'm out, paying people to let me on the show and do our. That's the dumbass thing I've ever heard in my whole life. Like, we're trying to have
we're getting a lot of weird stuff like that.
Conversation.
Right. Exactly. Well, thank you, Juan. I appreciate
and those people are trying to divide this community. They're trying to divide this community. Yeah, they're trying to divide this community. What you do, if you have advertisers, if you have people in there, you're a resource that is critical. I think that's why you surviving as long as you have to be in this game right now goes to the fact that your audience trusts you because they've had enough time to see how you operate, how you think, the stuff you say. And the ones that are more sketchy and fly by night, and they're getting the latest little whatever in, to make a buck or something, it might take a while, but they've gone by the wayside, and a lot more are going to go by the wayside. You're one of the channels that I'm sure will make it through this next tough moment and be on the far side of these events that are really already underway, to discuss and report as we come through this drama that's just ahead of us. We've all anticipated it for a long time, and I'm glad for that. And by the way, you and I, we don't necessarily agree on everything, Janine and I had a conversation many long months ago where, I told her I'm not in that same lane on a lot of the stuff, how she gets what she gets. But from a collegial viewpoint, from a conversation viewpoint, this is somebody that I enjoy talking with, has real, there's a reason why she has survived in the conversation to this point. She's got a certain attitude, skills, presentation. And so I have respect for those that have stayed viable, kept their integrity. And if we have different ways of looking things, different viewpoints, that's part of the health of the community, that we can have those conversations. So I look forward to being able to come back at later points, intermediately and after the worst of the crisis had, and being able to come on your show with you and answer questions, have a discourse, and somehow be there for this audience as we go through these things together. Is that click for you?
Yeah, it's perfect, Juan. I appreciate that, and thank you for weighing in on that. It was on the minds of a lot of the audience members, and that's why we put out that emergency broadcast earlier today. We know that some viewers, unfortunately, were caught in some of these scams and have lost money, and so we were hard pressed to do that video again. We've been doing these videos for quite some time over the last number of years, but it appears to be accelerating, and we have more and more new viewers watching all the time, and they might not be aware or have the reflexes to protect themselves. So, anyways, guys, if you want more details, go check out the emergency broadcast from 5 p.m. earlier today. On a side note, and as a joke for all the detractors who are saying that you get paid for these events, Cliff High's in the chat and he says, "Man, those cowboy boots ain't cheap." Thanks for
Cliff. And by the way, Cliff and I, we exchanged a note or two earlier today. I really enjoy. He challenges with some of the words and the uniqueness of the words and what he said. And he didn't know that something he sent me earlier in the day, I knew exactly what it was instantly, because having come out of Japan just recently and some of that stuff, it was very funny when he did that. I thought, I bet you there's not 5 people that we know between the two of us that even would know what he was talking about.
Fascinating. I'll ask you about Japan a little bit later on.
I have a lot of
let me redirect the folks, guys.
People.
Juan, hold on just a second here. There's a bit of delay between
the
and I'm having an echo. Right. Just hold on a little bit, Juan. I'm going to redirect the audience now to our Rumble feed. I'm just going to send a link back down here to the YouTube chat. If you guys are still watching us on YouTube, please move over here to Rumble so we can have this no holds barred conversation here with Juan unencumbered. Okay, so let me just remove the YouTube